Get out of the way, you filthy old man.
It's the worst having to work at such an old age.
Don't worry, we won't end up like that old geezer.
Right. We worked hard in college and finally got a job at this major company.
Exactly. Without an education, you can only get a job like that, right?
No thanks. We're on the fast track to success.
I was disappointed by the words of this year's new employees. They all graduated from prestigious universities.
John, you've got to give them a piece of your mind.
No, I think people like that won't understand unless they go through it themselves.
You've always had such a big heart, John. Your dad was a great man too.
My dad was strict. He didn't let me go to college and only said I had to work.
Well, that's true, but I wouldn't have been able to keep working if it weren't for your dad.
Helen, who was cleaning with me, is now 75 years old but still very energetic. My name is John Uriver. I am 62 years old. I thought to myself, life flies by so fast. I've also come to feel the changes of the times. I've worked hard behind the scenes until my dad's company grew this big. I am who I am today thanks to my strict dad and Helen. As Helen says, my dad was a truly serious person. My dad was born in the early 1930s, and he often talked about his war experiences. In a time when there was nothing to eat, my dad and his brother survived by luck, since they were too frail for the war. Afterwards, they survived on potatoes and scavenged books from their burnt house, waking up at 3 a.m. in a barracks to bake cornbreads and pushing a cart to sell them at train stations for income. When cornbread sales began to decline, my dad noticed a black and white advertisement in the newspaper. He started a small advertising company with the money he had saved. Running around for ad sales and operating printing machines became their daily life. As times changed and supermarkets began to open, advertising for sale items became busy, and Helen, who had been hired as an office worker back then, has been working hard ever since. As far as I can remember, my dad's company was still busy, and I often visited his factory. I'll never forget the smell of ink from those times. Life was still unstable, and though I studied hard in elementary school, my dad always said, "Read books." Our house was filled with many books. But many books were too difficult for a primary schooler to understand. Although I was physically weak and not good at sports, my mom carefully considered my nutrition, and somehow, I managed to keep up with school despite frequent absences. Then, when I was in middle school, my lovely mom passed away suddenly. We began to live by ourselves, just me and my dad. My dad tried to stay strong, but I had no appetite and was tired of crying. During that time, Helen, the office worker, would always bring over dishes she made. Helen had lost her husband and was working hard to raise her 2 sons. She studied bookkeeping independently and handled the accounting, which my dad greatly appreciated. Watching my dad, I chose the high school via correspondence courses and worked in a kitchen at a newly popular restaurant while attending at high school. I gave up on college and chose commerce in my correspondence courses, learning typewriting, bookkeeping, and business. The basics of kitchen work were cleaning. I learned to wash dishes and serve meals there. What helped the most was getting 1 meal for free. I worked in the kitchen since I was 16, never quitting. attending weekly correspondence school classes at night, and practicing commercial business on a small typewriter I bought for home use. I graduated from a correspondence course at age 19. Despite the era moving towards computers, the restaurant had high hopes for me, and I worked there for 10 years. Following my dad's advice, I read various books and attended a vocational school for IT for 3 years. Computers were introduced to my dad's company. On Sundays, I worked in the restaurant, and on Wednesdays, my day off, I went to my dad's company. I married a woman I met at the restaurant and was blessed with a lovely daughter. By then, I was 30 and started helping with sales under my uncle. I expressed my gratitude to the long-supported restaurant and learning customer service alongside my uncle. Even though I was weak with alcohol, I gradually became stronger under my uncle's guidance. During the day, I accompanied sales while learning various languages through my computer at home, and was surprised to find that actual languages spoken by foreigners was quite different from what I had learned. I also learned German. My dad's company started trading internationally, growing steadily even without university graduates, as we had employees proficient in languages. Then, my dad, the president, was diagnosed with cancer and passed away within just 6 months. It reminded me of my middle school days when my mom passed away, and I had wished my dad could stay healthy longer. My uncle had married into a family with a daughter, so he had a different last name. But at 40, I acted as a shadow executive, consulting only on significant decisions and helping conclude deals. What bothered me was the dirty atmosphere at work, so, out of habit from my kitchen days, I made sure to clean the company whenever I had time. Thanks to my uncle's initiative, new employees like James in sales and Liam in HR experienced cleaning too. Helen, who had been with us for a long time, also took the lead in cleaning, and without a contract with a special cleaning company, the new employees learned from cleaning, striving in management alongside my uncle. As the area advanced into IT, I handled sales online. I cleaned the company in the mornings and did sales on the computer at home office in the afternoons. I created our website and communicated with my uncle and Helen online. Cleaning the company allowed me to understand the activities of each department, so only the longtime executives and Helen knew I was the son of the former president. James became the executive director. As for me, I was the shadow vice president, but went abroad for training for about 5 years. Curious about the unknown world, I worked in restaurants in various countries, immersing myself in authentic language and culture, changing my worldview entirely. I carefully observed how restaurants advertised and increased sales. Helen was a chief officer and frequently kept in touch with me. My uncle was somewhat averse to computers. Living abroad made me miss American food due to the cultural differences in cuisine. Having worked in the restaurant business for a long time, I learned from each manager that cleaning was fundamental everywhere. Later, I also worked as a cleaner in a hotel, where I enjoyed language exchanges in German with various international students. Life abroad was tough, but my wife and daughter were okay because she received my executive compensation, and my wife also got her salary from my uncle as an accountant, ensuring my daughter's education was secure. Cleaning at the hotel was very strict, but it was a good experience. When I finally returned to the USA, my uncle suddenly passed away. I was already 50, and he was of an advanced age. Losing family members one after another is incredibly sad, but it made me deeply realize that I had reached that age too. Although only 5 years of overseas training, Helen, James, and Liam kept the company going. Everyone held back their sadness at my gentle uncle's funeral. Afterwards, I took over my dad's company but didn't show up at the office much, leaving Helen, my wife, and the executives in charge at the office. Even after returning to the USA, I did cleaning work only in the mornings and spent my days facing the computer at home, working on sales. Therefore, it may have been a rare company where there was no president's office in my company. However, with IT technology advancing so much, there was no need to physically be at the office. I always interacted with the young staff in the departments with a smile while mopping the corridors as the cleaning guy, and I had to sneak around to see if there was any harassment. I often went out for drinks with Liam, the HR manager. Liam, how are the new employees doing?
Well, quite a few quit after the initial cleaning training.
I see. That's tough. Maybe it's time we consider contracting a cleaning service.
Should we give it a try?
After discussing it with Liam, we decided to sign a contract with a cleaning company for the time being. Of course, I'll keep helping with the cleaning, just like before. Then, I observed the employees. I noticed a difference between those who had done cleaning before and those who hadn't. Those with cleaning experience always made sure to say thank you to the cleaning company's staff, never forgetting their manners. Those without experience seemed to think it was only natural to have others clean for them. It's true. You only understand what you've experienced yourself. One day, an employee spilled coffee and immediately called a cleaner from the company, who rushed to mop it up. But the employee didn't even say thank you. I wondered if that was just the way things are. Employees who have known me for a long time would greet me with, "Hey, Uncle, good morning. You're looking energetic today." I'd respond with a smile, "Good morning. Let's both do our best today." I enjoyed such communication. Truth be told, maybe because I'm an only child, I've always found communication a bit challenging. My dad was strict, always telling me to read books. In elementary school, I was frequently ill and often hospitalized. But the cause of my illness was unknown. My mom was really worried, especially since I'd often faint during school assemblies and wake up in the nurse's office. My teacher said that photochemical smog was a serious problem back in my day, and I was particularly sensitive to it. It wasn't just me. Several kids would collapse, so I think that might have been the reason. I was also sensitive to cigarette smoke, common in teachers' lounges and cinemas where adults smoked freely. Perhaps due to my constitution, I had no interest in sports and, as my dad suggested, joined a reading club in both elementary and middle school. I kept to myself, except for one close friend from the reading club, and team activities weren't my thing. I got used to some teamwork when I started a part-time job at 16, though most of the work was solitary. That job helped me get healthier, and I grew to enjoy physical labor. Of course, I knew I'd eventually have to take over my dad's company, so I went to a business school. I liked cleaning, even though it was a solitary task. But I didn't dislike people, and I liked their smiles. That's why I'm happiest now when I can talk and share a laugh with employees who greet me. The current cleaning company employs many international students. I enjoy talking with them during breaks, thanks to my language studies. The break room for the cleaners is just a small space with a couple of benches among the cleaning supplies. College graduates who had studied all their lives. At first, they were exhausted from cleaning for employee training, and it was the only place where they could take a break. According to Liam, HR, not many employees quit after just 2 weeks of cleaning like they used to, but some couldn't keep up. Cleaning up after the employee cafeteria is tough, but I'm used to kitchen work from my past and often volunteer for it. Then I go home, take a shower, change into a suit, and work on deals from my computer. For major deals, I meet with James, the executive, in a luxury hotel restaurant. So current employees have never seen me in a suit. As Helen, who has been of great help over the years, approaches retirement, she called me at home. Helen, is something up?
Oh, John, I mean, the president.
Come on, Helen, I haven't changed a bit, so no need to call me the president. Is that so? Feels weird, huh? Helen laughed. Then she said, actually, I'm hitting retirement age, and thanks to you, my sons are independent. It's boring being home alone. I'm tired of being a senior staff, so if it's okay, could I work in cleaning like you, John? Helen, are you sure about working in cleaning?
Of course, it's for my health, please.
Well then, by all means, I'll let the HR manager know.
Thank you, I'm looking forward to it.
And so, Helen became a cleaner. It was her wish, after years of managing the office, taking care of meals for my dad and me, and excelling as an accountant. I gladly and happily accepted the task. Then, starting the next week, Helen and I enjoy cleaning together. However, around that time, an epidemic became severe in the country. Most employees had computers at home and could use them, but some did not. The company provided those without computers at home with one, and everyone shifted to remote work temporarily. Supervision was undertaken by James, the executive vice president, Liam, the HR manager, myself, and Helen, whom I asked to help in the afternoons. In the mornings, Helen and I would wear masks, do some cleaning and general patrolling before switching to remote work in the afternoon. Sorting documents was handled by various department heads, but I figured employees wouldn't like being watched over. Some employees slacked off during remote work, a situation that lasted for a year. The company's performance suffered and sales dropped. Every company had to overcome these challenges, and supervision became difficult. We coordinated supervisory shifts over cell phones and had several remote meetings with the executive vice president, which led to the decision to issue pay cuts to the slacking employees. We also had to temporarily terminate our contract with the cleaning company. The food and beverage industry continues to lose money and no more advertising requests. The company had been doing well until then, but we had to accept reality. I pondered deeply. I decided to establish a small subsidiary in the countryside. It pained my heart, but due to the noticeable slackers, I had no choice but to reassign those employees to the regional branches as a form of demotion. Since I wasn't making my presence felt as the president, I regretfully asked James to handle this task. It was a tough year. trying to keep the company afloat while issuing pay cuts. The following year, only employees who had diligently worked remotely started coming back to the head office. No employees quit, although they were left to go to the countryside. International transactions also decreased significantly due to the lack of direct negotiations. But somehow, we all managed to get through the tough times. Helen, James, and Liam really stepped up during these two difficult years. Remote work lasted a year, and with regulations from the government slowly easing, we gradually started returning to normal. This year, new employees are joining us. Then, the flowers fell in April, and Executive Director James smoothly conducted the orientation for new employees. We also renewed our contract with the previous cleaning company, and we started the training for new employees. As usual, I was cleaning inside the company. On the last day of the new employee training, I encountered a new employee.
Get out of the way, you dirty old man.
Ending up in such a job at his age, that's just the worst.
Don't worry, we won't end up like that old guy.
Right. We worked hard in college and finally got a job at this major company.
Exactly. Without an education, you can only get a job like that, right?
That's dreadful. Yay, we're on the fast track to success.
I was disappointed by the words of this year's new employees. All the new employees this year were graduates of prestigious universities.
John, you should say something to them.
No, I think people like them need to experience this kind of work to understand.
You've always been so broad-minded, John. Your dad was a great man too.
I saw the name tags today. It was Andrew and Tim.
As expected of you, John.
This went beyond disappointment. It was essential to teach the younger generation about what's important. So, I immediately asked James and Liam to prepare for another orientation the next day. Liam contacted the new employees. The next day, I stood in front of the meeting room in a suit. James and Liam also stood beside me. The new employees walked in, one after another.
What's with a second induction orientation? I've never heard of such a thing before.
I'm hearing about this for the first time too. Just when we thought the training was over, some of them were mumbling as they entered the room, while others looked pale and nervous again. Then Helen appeared, suited up just like old times. She was a smart woman. Instead of a skirt, she wore a sharp pantsuit, looking as distinguished as ever. Despite being 75 years old, she looked no different from someone in their 60s, just like me. Then came Andrew and Tim, who had yelled at me the day before.
What's this all about? So tedious.
He muttered, seriously. What kind of company does this? Then they saw me, standing in a suit.
Isn't that the cleaning guy from yesterday?
What's this? Hilarious. Wearing a suit, it's like putting a costume on a grandpa.
And that one next to him. Isn't that the cleaning grandma?
Exactly. Are they going to become employees or what? Two of them looked down at me. They looked down on Helen, too. The executives present started to tremble. Well, it looks like everyone is here. Shall we begin? Everyone lined up in front, including the shaking James. James started off with a speech.
To all new employees, congratulations on completing your training. For the first time, our company is holding a second induction ceremony. As I introduced myself last time, I'm the Executive Vice President, James. Today is unusual because our president is here to give a speech and conduct this second induction orientation.
The president of this place. I heard he hardly ever shows his face.
Yeah, so a second time. Oh, the room buzzed with whispers. Then I took the microphone. Everyone, well done on your training. I am John Uriver, the president. As I said this, the room buzzed again, and the faces of Tim and Andrew went pale.
That's the cleaning guy, right?
I saw him too. The cleaning guy.
It seems I've surprised everyone. I've been observing your training. I have something very important to share. Congratulations on graduating from prestigious universities and joining our company. However, there's one regrettable thing. I found those who look down on others among the new employees. There are various jobs worldwide, and they all support our lives. There is no discrimination based on occupation or age. Two people here have realized this. Tim and Andrew, please stand up. As I said this, they stood up with a pale face. I've seen your resumes. Both of you graduated from top universities, but looking down on others as you did dishonors your alma maters. Today, your departments have been decided. You two will spend a year in the cleaning department. The rest of you will receive department assignments from your directors shortly. As I announce this, the two university graduates tremble. Let me escort our distinguished graduates to the field now. I expect great things from everyone else in your assigned departments. That concludes my speech for today. I handed the microphone back to James and took them and Andrew to the cleaning supply room.
President, I'm deeply sorry for yesterday, and today as well.
President, I sincerely apologize.
Enough apologies. What is important is the work on the ground. I handed them work clothes and told them to change in the locker room. Then I changed into my work outfit as well. Helen also appeared in work clothes.
Tim and Andrew, of course. I'm indeed an old lady, but you know, all executives started from cleaning at some point. Prepare yourself. I'll be training you thoroughly.
Yes, Helen. We look forward to working with you.
I am sorry for calling you an old lady. I understood.
With that said, the two graduates of the prestigious university were left blue in the face and became cleaners. I had them sit on the couch in the tool room. It's easy once you get used to it. Don't worry. Our company doesn't have a president's office, so in a way, this is it. Do you have any experience with part-time jobs?
Yes, as a tutor.
I was also a tutor.
Interesting. How about languages?
I can of course speak German.
Me too, but only German, basically.
That's reassuring. Our company didn't have a cleaning service back in the day, but now, our cleaning service employs various international students as part-timers. I hope you'll take this opportunity to learn as many languages as possible. I've similarly taught myself. Our company will continue to engage in various international transactions. This opportunity will surely become a foundation for you. I said a year, but depending on your efforts, 3 months could suffice. Learn not to discriminate based on nationality or job during this time. If you work hard, you can quickly move to sales or an interpreter position for international relations. I want you to do your best.
Yes, President, I understood.
We'll do our best.
I took the two out first to clean up food scraps and other things in the company cafeteria.
It stinks.
Tim, don't you eat out.
Yes, I do.
People doing this kind of work allow you to enjoy dining out, right? Remember that well.
Yes, I understand.
Though I said a year, of course, I moved them to office work after just 2 weeks. Both of them said it was a very good learning experience. Thank you. They're now working hard at their desks. Helen also taught them how to use a mop properly. Later, Helen, who had been with us for a long time, retired to live with his son. 3 years later, I reached retirement age and continued to clean in the mornings as chairman, leaving the presidency to James, the executive vice president, and Liam, the HR manager, who became the vice president. I'm still surrounded by my 3 grandchildren, living close to my daughter and her husband, and I'm happily spending my days with my wife. 15 years later, I look back on my life. Tom and Andrew have become department heads and managers, taking good care of their colleagues and making commendable progress. Though I may soon face the end of my life, I vowed to watch over the company my dad and uncle founded to the very end.